This is the Nintendo Switch, a tablet, a home console, and portable gaming system, all three at once. It weighs just under 400 grams. Its screen measures 6.2 inches. Inside sits a chip, producing 157 gigaflops of computing power in your hands. 393 gigaflops when docked. The PlayStation 4 Pro delivers 4.2 teraflops. The Xbox One X pushes 6.0. The Switch, at its absolute peak, manages less than 1/10 of that power. And yet, as of December 2024, Nintendo has sold over 150 million of these handheld devices. That's over 50,000 units sold every day for the last 8 years, making it the third best-selling console in history, outselling the PlayStation 4 and the original Wii. The question is, how? How does a device deliberately designed to be weaker than its competitors become one of the most successful consumer electronics products ever made? The answer begins with a philosophy developed decades before the Switch existed, and a man who would never see his final vision realized. To understand the Switch, we must first understand the disaster that preceded it. November 2012, Nintendo releases the Wii U. It sells 13.56 million units over its entire lifetime. The original Wii sold 101 million, an 86% collapse. The problem is identity. Consumers see the gamepad and assume it's a Wii accessory, not a new console. Third-party developers flee. EA abandons the platform. Activision follows. Reggie Fils-Aimé, Nintendo of America's president, admitted it directly. The commercial failure of the Wii U, specifically the lack of clarity of the Wii U gamepad's function, led to how they changed the marketing and promotion for the Switch. By 2014, analysts questioned whether Nintendo should exit hardware entirely. Inside Kyoto, a small group of executives gathers, among them, the company's president, a former programmer who once compressed an entire Pokémon game to fit on a cartridge, who took a 50% pay cut rather than lay off employees. His name is Satoru Iwata, and he has a plan. Nintendo is not good at competing, he once said, so we always have to challenge the status quo by making something new, rather than competing in an existing market. This philosophy traced back decades. Nintendo engineer Gunpei Yokoi had articulated it as Kareta Gijutsu no Suihei Shiko, lateral thinking with withered technology. Use mature, proven, inexpensive technology and apply it in novel ways. The Game Boy's monochrome screen looked primitive next to Sega's Color Game Gear, but the Game Boy delivered 30 hours of battery life. The Game Gear managed 3. Game Boy sold 118 million units. Game Gear sold 10. The Switch would not chase the bleeding edge. It would find a different path. At the heart of every Switch sits the Nvidia Tegra X1. Nvidia announced it in January 2015, 2 years before the Switch launched. It already powered the Shield TV streaming box. By industry standards, seasoned technology. This is precisely why Nintendo chose it. The Tegra X1 contains a Maxwell GPU with 256 CUDA cores. 4 ARM Cortex-A57 cores handle general computing. The entire system fits within a thermal envelope designed for tablets. In handheld mode, the GPU runs at 307.2 MHz. Docked, it jumps to 768 MHz, 150% faster. This dynamic clocking solves a fundamental problem. Handheld mode can't push full power without overheating, draining the battery, becoming too loud. The Nintendo-Nvidia partnership ran deep. Jensen Huang revealed that 500 man-years of engineering went into the Switch. Custom APIs, physics engines, development tools. This is a relationship, Huang said, that will likely last 2 decades. Open a Switch and you find an engineering puzzle. An 8mm copper heat pipe connects the Tegra X1 to an aluminum heatsink. A 25mm Delta Electronics fan exhausts heat through top vents. Rubber dampeners keep it quiet enough for handheld play on a train, in bed, at a coffee shop. In 2019, Nintendo revised the hardware. A 16-nanometer manufacturing process replaced 20-nanometer, reducing power consumption by 40 to 50%. Battery life jumped from 6.5 hours to 9. The same philosophy, refined. The Switch screen runs at 720p, not 1080p, not 4K. This drew criticism, but the math tells a different story. At 6.2 inches, 720p delivers 237 pixels per inch. At typical viewing distances, this exceeds the threshold where the human eye distinguishes individual pixels. Higher resolution would demand more power, more heat, faster battery drain. The 4,310 mAh battery must power everything. Every design decision cascades through this constraint. Iwata predicted this shift. Games already pretty much have reached the point of photorealism. Simply relying on sheer horsepower will not bring the industry a bright future. Inside each Joy-Con sits an underappreciated technology, HD rumble. Traditional controllers use spinning weights for vibration. The Joy-Con uses a linear resonant actuator weighing 5.5 grams. It functions like a tiny speaker. A voice coil moves a mass back and forth with extraordinary precision. At Nintendo's reveal event, Switch general producer Yoshiaki Koizumi demonstrated the system. He held a Joy-Con and described feeling ice cubes dropping into a virtual glass, precise enough to count individual cubes by sensation alone. Miyamoto reflected, "When we first created the Rumble Pack, we were just thinking about cost and performance. The sensation HD Rumble provides is completely new." On July 11th, 2015, Satoru Iwata died of bile duct cancer. He was 55. 4 months earlier, he'd announced a console codenamed NX. He promised details in 2016. He never saw it launch, but his fingerprints remained. Buried in the Switch firmware, developers found NES Golf, a game Iwata programmed in 1984. For a time, it was only accessible on July 11th, a digital memorial. The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, contained its own tributes. Satori Mountain, the Lord of the Mountain, a mystical creature that appears rarely, watches over the land, then vanishes. Huang later reflected, "We lost Iwata-san before the launch, but his clarity, his purpose, it still inspires our work every day." Within 10 months, the Switch became the fastest-selling console in American history. The Switch succeeded, not despite its limitations, but because of them. Every constraint shaped the design. The mature Tegra X1 enabled reliability. The 720p display maximized efficiency. Dynamic clocking created 2 machines in one. HD Rumble delivered sensation without mass. None of it required the most powerful chip. All of it required asking a question the competition never considered. What if you could play anywhere? Iwata once said,
"On my business card, I am a corporate president. In my mind, I am a game developer. But in my heart, I am a gamer."
Perhaps the goal was never the most powerful console, but a device embodying something harder to quantify: flexibility, accessibility, joy. More than anything, Iwata approached the Switch not as an engineer chasing specifications, but as a gamer asking what would make people smile. 150 million customers answered.